Hey guys, it's Nazni here with the one and only Kevin Conroy. I don't think I need to introduce what he's done, so yeah, just you know. So hi, Kevin.
Good to meet
Thank
you.
you for agreeing to let us interview you.
Yeah, happy to be here.
Yeah, it's an honor for me to interview you. First of all, because clearly you guys know what I do all the time and how I fangirl. So, I wanted to ask you. I know you're here as the Batman guest for the animation celebration, but you also touched in your panels on your acting background. You've been acting for several years before you got into voice acting.
I started acting when I was 17, and I went to Juilliard when I was 17 and studied under John Houseman and worked for Joe Papp at the Public Theater in New York. Did a lot of Shakespeare, the Greeks, classics, and that evolved into Broadway, off-Broadway, and then eventually TV. Doing voice work, I started doing commercial voiceovers when I was doing theater as a way to supplement my income because, you know, theater feeds your soul, but it doesn't really feed your bank account very well.
Absolutely not.
So it was really the commercial voiceover work that led to animation. And Batman was the first animated character I auditioned for, which is amazing. It's kind of like getting the brass ring.
Yeah, I mean, that's carried through for decades now, since
22
the 90s.
years, 23
Yeah.
years.
It's incredible.
But my first love was the theater, and I've always thought that the theater is where actors are most in charge. It's really the actor's medium, and so I love being on the stage. But it just gets harder and harder to make it happen because it's financially so hard to do.
Yeah.
You know.
You see less and less stage plays being produced. It's more people are trying to go towards film and TV.
Yeah. Well, it's because it's just the finances of it don't make a lot of sense anymore.
It's unfortunate because I love stage.
Oh, there's nothing
I love
like it.
going to watch plays all the time.
Yeah, there's nothing like it. And I did Midsummer Night's Dream in the Park in New York for Joe Papp. And then I did a production of Hamlet for him. I played Laertes in that. And I did Much Ado About Nothing for Jack O'Brien at the Old Globe. And I've done 2 Lears. One Lear at the Old Globe and the other at the Acting Company for John Houseman. So I've done a lot of classics, and that you really, if you can do that, you can do anything. It's so rigorous to pull that off that then doing contemporary plays is really, you know, kind of a walk in the park. It just that's where you sort of hone your craft, I think, is in the classics.
There's a lot of acting on every emotional scale on the range. It's that you have to hit on when you do Shakespearean acting.
Yeah. Yeah.
And your pacing and your timing and everything.
Yeah, and then you're working in, you know, iambic pentameter. You got to, you know, break the scripts down. There's a lot of homework that goes into those. And so, you know, that was those were great training years. The last play I did was for Arthur Miller just before he died. I did The Last Yankee off Broadway.
Oh, wow.
I worked with Arthur. I loved doing that. It was great.
He's a great playwright.
Oh.
He's fantastic. Was.
Incredible. Incredible.
So out of your roles in the classics, which one has stuck with you the most over the years, at the back of your head?
Well, the play that I was proudest of, I guess, well, there have been a couple. I did a play called Eastern Standard on Broadway. It was Richard Greenberg's first play. And I played opposite Patricia Clarkson, who played my sister. And it was a very emotional performance. I was very proud of that. I loved doing that. Something I really look forward to every night. But in the classics, I guess, I did a cycle at the Hartford Stage called The Greeks, which was first performed by the Royal Shakespeare Company in London. And what it was a 9-play cycle of the whole Oresteia
Wow.
legend, starting with Iphigenia at Aulis and ending with Iphigenia at Taurus, and going through Clytemnestra and Agamemnon and Orestes and Menelaus and everything. Excuse me. And I played Orestes in that, so I was the unifying theme throughout. And it was a 2-play cycle, so it was over 2 nights. and on Sundays we do marathons of it. I was really proud of that. I was very proud of that. It was a great experience.
That sounds like a lot of work had to go into it to get
It was a lot of work, but you know, I've been lucky. I've had a number of plays that I've been really proud of.
That's good. That's
Yeah.
great. Not many people can say that.
No, they can't. No, I know I'm lucky. I know.
And it sounds like you really have had a great career on stage and on TV.
I've been fortunate. You know, you have a lot of downtime too. Actors always do, but I've been lucky to have had a lot of projects to work on.
Yeah, and I know at least in my circle of friends and even the extended circles, you're a household name for us.
Oh wow, that's great. Thank
Even
you.
my mom, she's not really into comics as much, but she's like, Kevin Conroy's going to be here. Maybe I should go, and I'm like, you should. So yeah, I mean, I'm fascinated. That's why I'm so enraptured with you talking about your stage career, because you did, which one was it in Midsummer Night's Dream, Lysander?
Yes.
Yes. I did like a very, very small production when I was in middle school. I was Titania.
Oh, great
So I was like,
role.
yay. So hearing you talk about your Midsummer Nights in the panel it was great. Hearing you talk about that and the moment you mentioned where I guess you said you came off of the stage and there's the moon.
Oh, it was such a great moment because the Shakespeare in the Park in New York is in Central Park.
That's fantastic.
And so you're performing, you know, under the night sky. And the midsummer production we did, the set was a park. They brought trees onto the stage. They brought grass onto the stage, and it was they created a sort of Elizabethan garden in the theater.
Oh.
So it was like being in a forest. It was absolutely
That's
beautiful.
fantastic.
It was so beautiful. The lights were in the trees. It was incredible. And I came off of stage one night, and I was standing looking. There's a lagoon in back of the Delacorte Theater in Central Park, and the moon was coming up over the east side of Manhattan, and I just stood there looking at the moonlight on the water and looking the moon up, and I said to the actress, Deborah Rush, that I was working with, I said, this is a dream come true. I'm living a dream. And it sort of sunk in. You know, there are those moments in your life when you get so busy striving
yes.
that when you finally arrive there, sometimes you don't realize you're there. You're
then
still busy striving. You know
It
what I
just
mean?
smacks you in the face one day. It's like, hey,
Yeah.
look, you're here where you wanted to be.
Exactly. And I said, this was a dream. This is a dream come true. She said, yes, it is. We're lucky. Dreams come true sometimes.
Well, I'm happy that you got so many moments like that in your career so far.
Thank you.
And of course, now I have to segue into one of my favorite topics is Batman the Animated Series. I know I've read online before that it's sort of like a radio play kind of thing when you guys recorded that, which is very different from typical recordings.
Yeah, usually with most Hollywood recording, they like to get each recording completely clean in a sound booth because that makes the post-production much easier and cleaner and the editing easier. Warner Brothers very wisely likes to get everyone in a big room together because that way you get the effect of a live performance with actors working off of each other, and you're always only as good as the other people you're working with. The better the actors are around you, the better you are.
Definitely. It's
Because
not a
you're
one-person
feeding
show.
each other. Yeah, you're feeding each other, and you're working off each other. So especially with people like Mark. Mark and I work so well together. Mark Hamill. He's an incredibly talented guy, and he's very easy to work with, and we have a lot of fun. But the whole cast, Arlene Sorkin is Harley Quinn, and everybody works really. They're all generous actors. They all give to each other. So yeah, Warner likes to get everyone in a room together. The only difficulty is that you have to be aware that you can't, it is going to have to be edited. So there can be no bleeding over each other's lines. You can't step on each other's lines. You're tempted to jump on the next line. You can't. You have to take a breath between each line.
Oh.
So there is a separation.
Yeah.
So that's a bit of artificiality that's introduced. But, once you establish that, once you get used to that, it doesn't feel so artificial anymore. It just becomes like a breath. Everyone takes a breath before their line. And that just becomes part of the dramatic action, But that has really helped the performances for all the shows that I've done for them. I've done 4 different shows for them now.
Yeah, the Justice League, Batman Beyond, and I watched all the DC animated movies and shows. I was eating them all up.
Yeah.
So, coming from your acting background on stage and for TV, was it hard to get into? I know you auditioned for the role of Batman. Was it hard to go from that to auditioning to a cartoon character, essentially, or an iconic comic character?
It is. Well, actually, I didn't have a lot of background in Batman. The only thing I knew about was the Adam West series from the '70s, or late '60s, which they said, no, this is nothing like that. This is not a. That was very broad farce.
Camp fest.
It was a campy farce. This was going to be a very dark, noir, serious drama. So I had to kind of come up to speed on The Dark Knight, The Legend of the Dark Knight, and all that. I didn't have a lot of background in it. I really came at it as an actor. And it was just a very lucky meeting of actor and role that it fit the way that it did. And it worked so well for both me and the writers and the producers for so long. Yeah, it is different than it is different than working on stage in that you only have your voice to tell the story. Always in acting on camera or on the stage, you have your whole body to tell the story. You have your face to tell the story. You don't have to rely entirely on your voice. With animation, you only have your voice to tell the story. So you have to goose it a little bit. You have to caress it a little bit, but you can't so much so that it becomes cartoony. Mm-hmm. And then, because then it sounds artificial. It's got to be genuine, but it has to be a little bit more than what you do on camera to create the picture for the audience completely. You know what I mean?
You all did a fantastic job. I mean, those characters, especially Batman, Harley, the Joker, Penguin, all of them, they really do. It's more than just watching a cartoon. It's watching the characters come to life because of the voice acting that you guys did.
Well, I think that's why it resonates with the audience still so much. I mean, people are really devoted followers of all those characters, and I think it's because they heard the sincerity that was going into those performances. People took it very seriously.
I mean, you gave life to the character.
Everyone who worked on the show was really committed to doing it the right way. Not that that isn't true of all shows, but this was a unique experience for everybody. Everybody was really invested in it, and invested in it being done right.
Well, it was done perfectly,
in
my opinion.
Thank you so much.
Millions of others, I'm sure.
Thank you.
I mean, I know people have been telling you this all weekend, but I mean, you are Batman to me and my family, everybody.
Let's keep it that way.
It's like whenever anyone suggests any DC animated movie, and it's like, well, who's gonna be Batman? If it's not Kevin Conroy, I don't want to see it.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, it's definitely Batman the Animated Series is something that I think will definitely carry on for. It's been 22, 23 years, like you said. It'll keep going for decades and decades.
I hope they think of some new way to incarnate it again. It would be great.
I'm sure everyone would love that.
I know.
I mean, because I eat up all the animated movies that they put out. I'm just like, okay, more, because everyone that's behind it, they're great. Andrea Romano, yes, Andrea Romano.
She's fantastic.
Yeah.
They stopped making them not because the audience grew disinterested or the studio was disinterested. Everyone wanted more. It was really the writers, Bruce Timm he didn't want to get to the point where he was stretching it so thin, desperate to come up with story ideas. He kind of ran out of ideas. And he didn't want it to become something less.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I always hoped that he might be able to, regenerate and come up with some new ideas and go back and do more, but I don't know if that's going to happen.
Well, I would definitely be down to watch anything
like
that.
Cool.
So yeah, was it any different doing the voice acting for the animated series versus the games that you've been in lately? Arkham Origins, City. Well, you weren't in Origins. That was someone else. It was City, Asylum, and the new one coming out.
The new one is Knight.
Arkham Knights.
Arkham Knight. It's completely different. The process, the voice is the same. The production of the voice is the same, but the process of working on it is completely different because for that you do have to be alone in a booth because the game, there are thousands and literally thousands of lines.
They really are, because I play games regularly, and
They go
there's
on.
different tones and
Yeah, they can go on
inflections
forever, and depending on how you play the game, the direction it goes in, they want so many different takes of each line, and so many different versions of each take, and then you're alone in there for 4-hour blocks at a time,
Wow.
and producing that sound for that period of time. It just it gets. I started losing. I just came from a week of doing it in L.A. and we had to break a half hour early one day because my voice was just going. They said your voice is just ragging.
Well, after doing that 4 hours straight for so many days in a row.
And also you kind of forget how to speak English after a while. You're just like, just ridiculous sounds start coming out of your mouth. So yeah, and you've got to be your own motivation. You've got to be your own juice. You're alone in there, and
You
just
don't
got
have the other actors to play off
you
of?
have no one to play off of, and you're saying these lines in a complete vacuum, and they're just describing to you what the situation is, and you're using your actors. It's all up to the actor's imagination. It's much, 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 much harder to do the
It sounds
recording for
like
the game.
it.
It is. It's a hard job.
It sounds like it's emotionally taxing
And
as
it's
well.
emotionally exhausting. And by the time I get out of there, all I want to do is crash. It's rewarding only in that when I look at the game at the end, it looks so amazing, and I'm so proud to have been a part of it.
games are fantastic.
They're fantastic.
I can play
and
them
they
over
look
and over.
incredible, and they sound great, and they're great. And I'm so proud to have been a part of them. But the actual process of making them, I hate to disappoint anyone because it's just backbreaking.
Wow.
It's hard. But I'm not complaining. I'm
Yeah,
happy
no.
to do it.
We're happy that you do it. We're thrilled. Well, I guess that's all I have for you. Or else I'll start
Great.
rambling about Batman all day
No,
long.
no.
So.
Thank you. This was great.
Yeah, it was a
great
great
talking
pleasure
to you.
to interview you and
Thank
learn
you.
about your background
Good
in
meeting you.
Shakespeare.
Take
too.
care.
Thank you.